My question for Ben Johnson: um, Is it safe to say that Ben Johnson just got too cute in the playoff game against the Commanders? And it doesn't need a lot of elaboration, but I will just throw out there, when you look at the success the Lions had last year in the playoffs. They played the Tampa Bay. They played San Francisco. Not San Francisco. They played well, they did play San Francisco, but the LA Rams. And when you think back to the LA Rams game, all I think about is that second half where there was not a lot of points scored. It was a dogfight. It was ugly, and they grinded it out, and they won that game. When I think about Tampa Bay, same thing. I think about them running the football, thinking about them grinding it out. It was an ugly game, but it was point scored. But the game ended on a defensive interception. And when I think about even San Francisco, that was the offense came out. They got the ball in J-Mo's hands. It wasn't even. I think it was a reverse. I think they got it. I think he got a touchdown on a reverse. And other than that, they hit him across the middle. But it wasn't anything fancy or anything like that. So when I go to the Washington game and I think about the trick plays they ran, one of them was, I think they had Skipper out on a route. They didn't get it to him. He was covered, but they ended up hitting Laporta on that one. The J-Mo touchdown was a trick play. The St. Brown push pass was a big play, trick play. And then J-Mo passing play. It's like 4 or 5 trick plays in one game. And I don't think we talked about it already, but the Lions, they're not predicated. They're not built on trick plays. Trick plays is just something that they do in addition to playing, like you said, hard-nosed football. So when you get to the playoffs are not the place to break out trick plays. If you tell me that the game is tied and it's fourth and whatever, and you like, man, I got this play. Hey, let's do it. Okay, I get it. Or you want to start the game off, maybe something like that. But running 4 or 5 trick plays in a playoff game. I'm sorry, I saw Jameson Williams touchdown celebration. Running 4 or 5 plays in a playoff game, that just seems like a recipe for disaster. And to Ben Johnson's credit, the offense, in my opinion, other than Jared Goff turning the ball over, was not the problem and why we lost that game. But at the same time, if you would have just held the ball, ran it, controlled time of possession, I think you would have been better off than trying to run up the score on Washington, Washington was not having that.
What I would say to that, man, is did he get too cute? So a lot of these, a lot of questions are not black and white. They're like gray. So no, I'm not mad at a lot of the trick plays that he ran. Because we run trick plays, and a majority of those trick plays did end up working. So yeah. Now, do I think that he reached in that bag way too many times? Yes. Like, there's a certain thing as pushing your luck. You know what I'm saying? Now, so the more times you run a trick play in the game, the more a defense is going to be aware of it. It's like being in Metal Gear. You know what I'm saying? Like, if their awareness is up, then, you know what I'm saying, you probably don't want to do that right now. You know what I'm saying? And while I feel like running trick plays is okay, I feel like that last one he ran was just not the time for it, man. It's just so many factors in why it was not the time for it. And at that moment, we were running out of time. That drive that we had, that we ran the trick play to JMO, felt like one of the most crucial drives in the game. Like we needed that score to. I forgot what the score was at that point, but it was an important drive. We were driving downfield, and I had the sense that if we scored this, we can take control of this game. and we were driving downfield. It was a successful drive, and for in that moment with us being down, and I think that was like in the third quarter. Essentially, losing, having less and less potentials uh to have possessions of the ball, and you give the ball to Jameson Williams, who has never played quarterback in his life, and is going to throw that ball downfield. Regardless, he's not skilled in reading coverages or nothing because he's never played quarterback. That was not the moment. So while I'm not going to say he got too cute in that game, I feel like he went in his bag of tricks one too many times. And there were times where I felt like an empty set on a 30 inches play. Sometimes you just need to run the ball. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that it was the worst play call, because there have been plenty of times where we passed the ball and got the first down. Throw to St. Brown. St. Brown has the most summon. If St. Brown was on the field, I would be all the way against it. But St. Brown has some of the most secure hands in the NFL, so that's why it works. But sometimes you can just go into that bag too many times, and to your point, sometimes you just got to play nose down, hand in the dirt football, and you know what I'm saying. And you can overthink. I guess I will put it like that.
So you covered it in the last thing you said, and that is and I hate to harp. Peyton Manning is doing fine, but I hate to keep going back to Peyton Manning. But this loss just reminds me of those Indianapolis Colts with Peyton Manning, who just dominate all season long, and then they would get to the playoffs, and usually they would lose to New England, so they would have success. But I just feel like there were times where they got to the playoffs and they would lose in that first round and get upset. And I would equate that to, like you said, you covered in the last part of your answer. Playoff football is about physicality, and sometimes sometimes the finesse teams get exposed, and just the more physical team shows up and hits them in the mouth, and they lose that game. And I'm not saying the Lions can't be a physical team. They are a physical team. And I thought Saturday was the perfect time for them to be a physical team. And like I said, they played a portion of their game, but I think they just tried to institute too much of the finesse, the 5 out, the trick plays, all of that. It was no need for that. You're at home, run the ball. I mean, look at Philadelphia. Philadelphia is trotting Jalen Hurts out there on one leg, and Philadelphia is a similar team. They could be finesse, they could be physical, but they just gave the ball to Saquon Barkley. And when they needed a first down, they would pass it here and there, but it was nothing cute about their offense. They just went out there and they just played physical football, and they came out with the win. They have a much better defense, so. I can't completely equate them to the Lions, but I thought that was a layup, but I'm surprised. Okay, you feel a little different.
The best thing I can say is that I think Ben Johnson is a little too smart and too stubborn for his own good. Like, there are times when things are working, like handing the ball off to Jahmyr Gibbs or David Montgomery are averaging 5 and 7 yards a carry, and Ben Johnson is like, "Oh, but let me show off how I can pass the ball this way too." But what's working is the run game. So I think sometimes you just outsmart yourself.
Yeah, the argument that Ben Johnson was putting on an audition for the 31 teams around the league is something that I can't say is right, and I can't say is wrong. But
Detroit